Hello and welcome to our presentation on the dangers of vaping, a parent's guide. My name is Jamie Shabman and I am a school counseling intern here at Otwell. This presentation will hopefully provide an in-depth look at how the vaping industry is targeting our kids and what we as a community can do to stop them. We're going to start with this quick video that gives us an idea of just how prevalent vaping is among our young people. Take a listen.
I play baseball, basketball, and play football. Those are the three sports that I play big time. When I first started vaping, I just turned 15 years old, so I've been doing it for about a year now. All my teammates do it. It's just pretty normal for everybody to do it.
People that I know that do it, they're like good students, like straight A's. It's a normal thing to do. I was 13 the first time I vaped.
People at my high school, they would vape on the bus just because it's like so easy to hide. It's just like a little like black pen. I could just vape at home, like my parents don't know at all.
When I'm riding my bike, like far distances, it makes me feel like I'm riding away. And the reason I vape is to basically get away and get my mind just off of things. I was 13 years old when I vaped for the first time. I started buying $5 vaporizers, and from there, I moved on to bigger ones.
Most of my friends that vape, they use nicotine. A lot of nicotine, actually. Like, because you can put as much nicotine into it as you want. Like, the concentrates can go way past just cigarettes.
There's too many flavors to count. There are endless amounts that you can get.
There's cotton candy, bubblegum, peppermint.
Some that taste like pancakes, coffee flavor.
I heard one was unicorn puke. It sounds like cartoon flavors or something.
It makes them seem a little bit more kid-friendly, so people are like okay with doing it.
Some of my friends, they're sponsored by vape companies. They just get sent stuff for free because then they like make YouTube videos of all the tricks that they're doing and they're like, oh, this is the juice I'm using, this is the mod I'm using.
A lot of people post them on their Snapchat stories or on Instagram of them vaping. They tend to be more popular.
I can look up vape and a whole bunch of videos will come up and I can see what kind of cool tricks they're doing, learn what the name is, and I can go look it up on YouTube about how to do it.
It's the whole culture. It's kind of a big deal for a lot of people that I know.
Sometimes I do feel pressured into vaping. With all this social media nowadays, it has a really big effect on what people just think about you.
If you don't vape, you're looked at as an outsider, so everybody does it.
I think people that you would never expect would definitely be vapors. It's becoming like more and more popular.
Vaping is considered cool in my group of friends. It might just be the fact that you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
There's no worry that a parent's gonna find us vaping on social media. We've gotten really good at hiding it from our parents.
I know I'm underage, but it's just something that I do. I won't let it affect my future.
Okay, so who is vaping? Every year since 1975, the National Institute on Drug Abuse conducts a survey they call Monitoring the Future, and it measures drug and alcohol use among adolescents. For the last several years, the statistics for students who are vaping has continued to rise. In 2019, 24.3% of eighth graders had reported that they had vaped at least one time. That number increases as students get older. The number jumps to 41% by 10th grade and 45.6% by the time students reach 12th grade. And if you look at those who have vaped in the past year and vaped in the past month, you can see those numbers are pretty consistent. It starts the lower numbers in eighth grade, and then they continually get higher as they get older. Why are teens vaping? The top reasons teens are given for vaping are to experiment because they say it tastes good, to have a good time with friends, to relax or relieve tension, or because they say it feels good. Other contributing factors to teen vaping are accessibility and availability. If they can get a hold of it, they will be more likely to use it. Also, lack of parental support, low self-esteem or self-image, and not knowing how to say no. I think this point is really important. It's a good life skill that we really need to teach our kids, and how to say no. And another likely contributing factor is advertising. Before e-cigarettes were introduced, teen smoking rates were down considerably compared to the previous decades. And if we look, we could see in 2002, 13.3% of middle school students and 28.2% of high school students were using tobacco products or had used tobacco products. In 2003, that is when the e-cigarette was invented. It was introduced in the US and in Europe in 2006. And then by 2014, 18 million young people had been exposed to e-cigarette advertising. And then 2015, the company Juul was launched, and they used social media to advertise their product. And then by 2019, 24.3% of middle school students and 45.6% of high school students had used e-cigarette products. So if you look at the difference between 2002 and 2019, you can see that it's a considerable jump. And e-cigarettes are targeting our young people. The advertising is targeting our young people. The companies have found innovative ways to market their products to young people. They create a buzz on social media. In 2015, the e-cigarette company Juul spent over $1 million to launch on various social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Their ads depicted vaping as something you do when you're having fun with friends or something you do when you're relaxing. And one study found that social media growth, especially the number of Juul-related tweets, highly correlated with their retail sales. They also started sponsoring music festivals and other events that young people are likely to attend. At some of the sponsored events, they have vapor lounges, which include like live performances, photo booths, and sometimes samples of their products. They also have been known to offer scholarships. These scholarships can range from anywhere from $250 to $5,000. And to apply for these scholarships, they have asked students to write essays on topics like whether vaping could have potential benefits. And they also introduced appealing flavors. And these are some of the flavors that they have. As you can see, a lot of these flavors are typically appealing to young people. So they have cotton candy, banana split, Kool-Aid, gummy bears, Skittles, the list goes on and on. And a little more about flavors. They are one of the top reasons that teens have given for trying their first e-cigarette. It was second only to having family or friends who vaped. And 97% of young people who have vaped within the last month used flavored e-cigarettes. And e-cigarette companies know this data, and they will continue to use it to their benefit as long as they are able to. And unfortunately, it's not just nicotine that's being vaped. Teens are also vaping marijuana. Approximately 1 in 11 students has vaped marijuana, and the number of teens who are vaping marijuana daily is increasing. This table illustrates the rate at which we are seeing this increase. This table shows the difference between 2018 and 2019. And as you can see, it is going up at every grade level. And a little more about vaping marijuana. It's the most commonly used illicit drug used by adolescents. Regular marijuana use as a teen can disrupt brain development. Vaping marijuana could be more dangerous than smoking the drug because of higher concentrations of THC, which is the chemical that makes you feel the high that marijuana produces. And also using a vaping device can make it easier for teens to hide. This is because of the smell that marijuana typically produces. You don't get that with the vaping pen. And these are some of the vaping devices. So when people vape, they are inhaling and exhaling aerosols or vapors from a device that typically contains nicotine and other products. There are typically 4 separate components in a vaping device. The cartridge or the pod holds the liquid solution, and that holds the ingredients, like the nicotine and the flavors and the other chemicals. Then there's the heating element, the power source, which is typically a battery, and the mouthpiece. And when activated, the liquid is heated and an aerosol is produced, and that is what is being inhaled and exhaled. And these are some other vaping devices. As you can see, they are obviously a little bit easier to hide. They look like everyday products, which makes them easy for parents and teachers to overlook. As you can see, they come in like a lipstick container, highlighters, pens, even an inhaler, which was kind of surprising to me. So there are still a lot of unknowns about vaping and the dangers of vaping. It's often cited as being safer than cigarettes. And the truth is that may be true in some respects, but we just don't know yet. Since vaping is relatively new, there are no real long-term studies. And just like it took us a long time until we understood the scary long-term effects of cigarette smoking, we still need time for us to grasp the effects of using e-cigarettes. It does appear that the more we learn, the more we understand that there are real dangers associated with vaping. For instance, the chemicals. We do know that there are at least 60 chemicals that have been found in e-liquids, and there are additional chemicals in the aerosol that is produced while vaping. And we still need to determine how these chemicals will affect us in the long term. And we do know that there are some side effects to our health. For instance, it does affect our immune system. Our white blood cells are part of our immune system, which helps us fight infections and diseases. And without getting too technical, basically research is showing that vaping is affecting the number of bad cells that our white cells typically kill. What this means is that vaping is negatively impacting our immune system. Also, there are lung issues. There is evidence that vaping increases our odds of having a chronic cough, bronchitis, and an asthma diagnosis. Exposure to the aerosol from e-cigarettes may cause injury to our airways, leading to respiratory diseases like pneumonia. And also it affects our heart. There is evidence that vaping could negatively affect blood pressure, resting heart rate, and the cells lining our blood vessels. This is an area that more research is needed, though, to get the full understanding of just how it is impacting our hearts. Also, there are already indications that smoking is associated with the progression of COVID-19, which makes sense since we know that vaping affects our immune system and lungs. This makes smokers more vulnerable to illnesses like COVID-19. And one recent study in people aged 13 to 24 showed that those who vaped were 5 times more likely to contract COVID-19. And vaping also affects brain development. especially in teenagers. Since our brains are not fully developed until we are in our mid-20s, teenagers' brains are still developing. Teenagers' brain cells are working very quickly to build connections, and nicotine can change the way the connections are made in the brain. The part of the brain that is really working to come together when we are teenagers is the prefrontal cortex, which is the front part of the brain that controls things like decision making, learning, mood, and attention. So continued vaping can lead to issues with staying focused, depression, anxiety. Nicotine also triggers our brain to release endorphins, which are the chemicals that make us feel good. Over time, though, the brains adapt and more nicotine is needed to have that same feel-good effect. And that need for more nicotine is what leads to addiction. And one cartridge of the e-liquid can contain the same amount or more nicotine than a pack of 20 regular cigarettes. So what nicotine is doing to teenagers is affecting key brain receptors, which makes them more susceptible to nicotine addiction. Additionally, nicotine addiction has been linked to the abuse of other substances. So what can parents do? Really, communication is key and crucial. Find moments when effective conversations can be had. For instance, if you are watching TV or if you're, driving around, walking around, and you see somebody vaping, that's a good time to have a conversation with your teen. If you notice an advertisement, those are times where you can bring up vaping. When you do, be prepared with credible information. It's better that when you have these conversations, you are prepared to answer questions that your child might have. And also have conversations and not lectures. Try not to be critical. This will encourage more open and honest dialogue. And also try and be a positive role model. Remember that the number one reasons teens begin to smoke is that a family member or friend smokes. If you currently smoke or vape, maybe consider switching to a tobacco-free household. And also reach out for support. If you feel you need more help, reach out to doctors or other support systems you might have. And here are a few online resources. On the left, you see the drugfree.org. This is the vaping guide for families. It's a guide that will give you a more in-depth look at vaping, both nicotine and marijuana. It also has a section in there for what parents should know and do for their children in regards to vaping. The second one from hhs.gov/Surgeon General. Talk with your teens about e-cigarettes. It's a tip sheet for parents. And like the other guide, this tip sheet provides a lot of useful information on vaping. Additionally, it has some conversation starters along with some questions your child might ask and it provides a few responses that may help you talk about vaping with your child. You can find these by, looking up those websites, doing a quick Google search. I found them really helpful. There's also online quitting programs. TheTruthInitiative.org has a program called This Is Quitting. It's a free mobile program for both teens and young people who are smoking or vaping. For teens who want to quit, they can text Ditch Jewel to 88709. And then parents of teens who are vaping can text QUIT to 202-899-7550. And then there is becomeanx.org. This is a free digital resource that can help tobacco users quit. And what you can find on their website is an online social community. They have text and email support, expert guidance, and interactive tools. And also, I would suggest talking to your local healthcare provider. They might have some resources, maybe some more local resources that might be able to help you out. And that's it. Thank you so much for being here. My hope is that this presentation will spark some meaningful conversation within your families. Thank you so much.